So you are part Irish, is that right? Part Irish and half Irish, half Bengali, is that right?
Yes.
Some people think it's exotic
Thank
mix.
you. What a wonderful mix. Some people think it's an abomination, but nowadays,
What? Not at all.
it was my great aunt. I'm afraid was one of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my Irish auntie. She disowned my mother for marrying a brown person.
Oh,
It was
really?
Yeah, it was a really big deal, but everything became all right in the end, and here we are.
Yeah.
Ta-da. Boom, boom.
And do you feel, which side do you relate to more? Do you relate to the Irish side or the Bengali side or both? Or
I think because physically I don't present to Irish, that has been something I've consciously enjoyed a lot more because of like my mother being very into like Luke Kelly and the Dubliners and loads of Irish folk music through my childhood, but always like presenting as Asian. It means that there's been a lot more kind of like voluntary discovery of the Irish side, and it's something that's very, very important to my heart. And we do Irish folk song as part of our repertoire as well, even though it's not very traditional, but it's still very much like at the core of what I do.
yeah, your music is such a wonderful fusion. You've got folk, you've got jazz. You do have a bit of Irish in there. I can hear it. Irish folk music, tiny wee bit. Country. Yeah. How does your sound come about?
Just from being very mixed up and listening to lots of different things. So we've, my dad is Indian, but he also really loved like old Delta bluesmen, and he used to play a lot of very esoteric, psychedelic things, and just so that. And my mum was really into Leonard Cohen, so just like a kind of combination of loads of stuff. But they hated jazz. They thought it was really, I can't use the word, but not a great thing to listen to. It was just a bit over the top, or it was a bit too kind of like, like very sort of too many solos and not enough kind of content. And then so when I got into listening to jazz, it was more like very early jazz and jazz that when jazz wasn't what we would call jazz now, and just sort of stuff that was more sort of like R&B, soul, blues roots. And then from that, meeting all these incredible musicians in London and just realising that actually the word is so huge that you don't need to get too hung up on, is it fusion or is it like trad or is it whatever. And the kind of musicians I work with are quite experimental, so they're very open to lots of different musical styles. So one track you might listen to and say this is no way a jazz record, another track you're like it can't be anything but a jazz record. So it's supposed to be just for the listener to really decide what box they want to put it into.
Yeah. Well, you've had Jamie Cullum touting you about.
He's kind.
He loves
He's very
you, doesn't
kind.
he? So
wow, he's a nice man.
Obviously does fit a little bit in the jazz bracket, at least to him. So,
so that's good.